Time flies, doesn't it? It always seems the excitement of the new year winds down after the first few months, and then before we know it, another year is quickly approaching. I think there's so much emphasis on improving your life in preparation for or at the start of a new year. And while I'm not mad at it, the Virgo in me loves a fresh start. I do think there's something super impactful about finishing a year off strong as well. If you've let the year pass you by with little motivation, then it's time to think about what you can do to finish the year off strong and prepare for the ultimate fresh start. Tomorrow is always a new day and the opportunity for a fresh start. In this episode, I'm sharing 10 things you can do to finish the year off strong and get some major momentum moving into another new year. Now, before I get into today's episode, I want to answer a City Girl Solutions question that came in. And just as a reminder, if you have a question for me that you want answered on the podcast, submit your question at citygirlsavings.com/QA. So the question that came in is this: what do you think about balance transfers when trying to pay off debt? And I feel like that's kind of a loaded question. I think a lot of things. First and foremost, I think balance transfers can be very effective when done properly. So first, make sure that the balance transfer covers all of the balances. So what I mean is, let's say you received a balance transfer promotion and your available credit is $20,000 that you can transfer to that promotion. But if you have $30,000 of debt that you are paying interest on, that's still going to leave $10,000 worth of debt accumulating interest. So now you have, yes, $20,000 that won't have interest, but you still have other debt that has interest. So is it going to be worth it? If the answer is yes, then move forward accordingly. If you can stay organized and still prioritize paying off that high interest debt first, then move forward accordingly. But another thing to keep in mind is there's balance transfer fees, which is usually fine. It's less than the interest that you're likely being charged, but make sure you get to the root of what caused you to go into debt in the first place. Okay, there is a statistic out there that says 78% of people who balance transfer end up racking the debt back up. So not only did you transfer $20,000 to a zero interest promotion, but this free open credit lines that you just transferred end up being racked right back up. That's $40,000 of debt. So fix the issue that caused you to go into debt instead of looking for a balance transfer to be the savior. A balance transfer can be very helpful, right? But at the end of the day, if you do not know how to control your spending, if you don't have a budget, if you are putting things on credit that you shouldn't be, you're likely going to end up back in debt. So hopefully that helps. Like I said, it was a loaded question. I have a lot of thoughts about balance transfers. I think they can be very effective when done properly. All right, let's get into today's episode. 10 things you can do to finish the year off strong. Number 1, start journaling now. I know that I have mentioned journaling a few times before in the podcast, but I started journaling many years ago, and I truly believe it's played a huge role in the success that I've had. Now, I prefer typing over writing, so my daily journal entries are usually typed out, and every year I have a new document, and I label the document by year. And one thing that I love to do is just go back to the same day 3 years ago and see what I journaled about. What was I stressed over? What was on my mind back then? I'm always blown away at how I accomplish everything that I set out to. And, seeing some of the stuff that I was worried about back then and how it really has no impact on my life now, it really does put things into perspective. So while I don't think the physical act of journaling is what drives success, right? Like, I don't think if you journal, you absolutely will be successful. What I do believe is that it does set into motion the intentions you need to be successful. So when you're constantly thinking about what you want to accomplish and affirming those goals, you start to take the actions you need to reach those goals. So journaling out your thoughts, your feelings, your goals, and why you want to achieve them really puts into motion you doing the things you need to do to reach them. So if journaling is new to you, I recommend starting small. Don't make it a big old thing. Start by devoting 5 minutes a day to writing out your goals, writing out what you're grateful for, and how you feel that day. Like, keep it very simple to start with. There's a blog article on the City Girl Savings website called 6 Tips to Help You Start Journaling, and I think that article can give you some great insight as well. I'll make sure to link to it in the show notes so that you can check it out later. But ultimately, I want you to get into the habit now. Finish the year building the habit of journaling so that you can already have this habit formed as you move into the new year. All right, next thing you can do. Think about what you can accomplish before the end of the year. So maybe time got the better of you this year and the goals you originally wanted to achieve are not on track. That's okay. The world is not falling. The world is not ending. How can you reassess and make some sort of forward traction? Take some time to think about what actions or things you can get done before the year ends to help you get closer to reaching that goal. You know, it's not always about achieving the original goals we set, but putting ourselves in the position to achieve the things we want long term, right? You know, as someone like me who likes to goal set, I tie a lot of value into actually achieving goals, but at the end of the day, as long as I am moving in the direction that I truly see myself in, I think that's the most important thing. So I want you to have that frame of mind as well. And trust me, overnight success is a myth. I think it happens to very few, right? Or 9 times out of 10, it looks like it was an overnight success, but that person had been grinding behind the scenes for years. There's something to be said about putting in the time and effort needed to achieve the life of your dreams. I think working hard and seeing success is so much sweeter that way. I think it's also an important exercise in your mindset, right? And instead of focusing on the things that didn't go according to plan or you not achieving the goal, you can focus on what you still can get done. So now we're focusing on the solution and not the problem, which is just a great habit to start forming overall. Okay, next thing you can do to finish the year off strong, pick up a new book, physical or digital. A few years ago, I came across Bill Gates' blog, which features book lists and reading recommendations. So if you are not sure where to start to find a book that will challenge you, start there. I've linked to it in the show notes. Otherwise, there are so many book options for every type of reader. You literally can't go wrong. Pop into a Barnes & Noble and see where your curiosity takes you. I think reading is such a great way to escape if you need to. It's a great way to get new perspectives. It's a great way to learn new things and expand your own knowledge and vocabulary. One of my goals for 2023 was to read a new book per month, physical. So this excludes like listening to audiobooks. And I've actually really enjoyed working towards this goal. Now, notice how I didn't specify the kind of book you should read. I think just the act of reading or listening to any new book you can is a great way to finish the year off strong. I, in the past, would read 2 books at a time, and they would always be one fiction and one nonfiction, just because I get something different from each. So I can benefit from reading both at the same time. I don't think you have to start that aggressive, but go for it if you see fit. So make it a goal to start, and extra points if you can finish a new book before the year ends. It will set you in motion for reading on a regular basis, especially as we move into a new year. Okay, next thing you can do, reflect and set your New Year goals early. So I'm sure you've listened to last week's episode, which was all about why you should start planning your New Year's goals ahead of time. But now is the time. Let's finish this year off strong by getting you set and ready for the next year. A common trend that I've found with goal setters, and myself included in this over the years, is the lack of reflection. I think it's so easy to set the intention of what we want to achieve, but whether we achieve the goal or not, we don't really reflect on it. And like I said, I'm guilty of this myself. We don't take the time to ask ourselves what worked and what didn't work as we work towards that goal, whether we achieved it or not. I feel like reflection has so many benefits, especially when it comes to setting and achieving goals. So not only do you learn more about yourself, but you learn strategies to help you reach other goals faster in the future. And you may also learn what not to do. So I think a thing you can do to help you finish the year off strong is dedicate time to reflecting on the year so far and planning out your next year's goals early. Get into the habit of writing out those goals every day, and you may be surprised at some things you accomplish before the new year even begins. Next thing you can do to finish the year off strong, get financially prepared for the new year. I mean, you had to know I was going to talk about money at least once in this episode, right? I think money is a part of our lives that it can dictate so much: stress, happiness, time, work, and more. If you want to finish the year off strong, I highly recommend getting certain things in order financially in preparation for the new year. So some of those things can include getting financial systems and automations in place. So think like automatic savings transfers, online bill pay, investments set up on recurring schedules, or even getting your financial filing system set up. Another thing you can do to financially prepare for the new year is to do an audit of your current bills and subscriptions. And anything you don't use, need, or want, go ahead and cancel it. Let's set the new year off on the right financial tone. I am going to link to episode 52 for a few more ideas for you. It'll be in the show notes. Next thing you can do to finish the year off strong, invest in your success. Is there a particular area of your life that you want to improve in year over year, but you never seem to? Maybe it's your health or your weight. Maybe it's your career. Maybe it's your business. Maybe it's your relationships. Maybe it's your money. There's a certain area of your life that you always vow to improve in, but you don't quite seem to. I think one of the best ways any of us can finish a year off strong and ultimately set up our next year for success is to invest in improving in an area that we struggle with. So that investment can look like a lot of different things. It can look like working with a coach, taking an online course, taking a college class, renting books on the area from the library, or just seeking out accountability partners. At some point, though, you have to take ownership of things not working out the way you want them to. And they say the definition of crazy is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So if you have been doing the same thing over and over and you're still expecting a different result, it's time to change your tune. Next thing you can do to finish the year off strong, declutter your office, closet, pantry, or home. Now, I suggested a few options when it comes to decluttering because I know how big of a project it can be, and you may not have all the time you need to get it done before the year ends. But even focusing on just a particular area to declutter at one time can give you momentum to work through all the areas you need. This is something that I actually want to do. It has been on my mind to go through my closet for as long as I can remember. I did a huge closet overhaul a couple years ago, and I'm in need of another one. It felt so good back then, and so I really want to declutter my closet. But whatever area you decide to declutter, give yourself ample time to go through the items, like really look through the items and determine what you need, and follow the 20-20 rule. Let go of an item you can replace for under $20 or replace within 20 minutes. So if you're feeling like, I can't get rid of this, or I don't want to get rid of this, or whatever it is, if you can replace it for under $20 and if you can replace it in under 20 minutes, see ya. we can replace it if we need to. Also, if the thing you're contemplating letting go of doesn't spark joy, get rid of it. All right, next thing you can do to finish the year off strong, have a plan in place for any extra income you earn in the new year. So one of the best ways to avoid lifestyle creep is to have a plan for extra income before it comes. What is lifestyle creep, you ask? Well, lifestyle creep is when you start making more money, you also start spending more money. It's just a natural way of being. We make more, we spend more. But lifestyle creep can keep you further away from your goals. So if you want to avoid that and really make the most of extra money that comes your way, have a plan in place. So if you know that you'll get a 3 to 5% raise at work, plan to increase your retirement contribution by 1%, plan to invest 1%, and then add the rest to savings. Like, go into it knowing what you're going to do with that extra money before you get it. Another example, if you typically get a tax refund, think about how you can leverage that money to get ahead and not spend on something that won't help you reach your long-term goals, right? Like, how can you leverage that money to pay down debt that you won't charge back up or add to your savings, right? Have a plan in place ahead of time. If you often live by the seat of your pants with extra income, let's finish the year off strong by having a game plan in place ahead of time for any extra money that comes your way. And I promise you, it will come. Next thing you can do to finish the year off strong, do more things that actually interest you. I know that the end of the year is a pretty busy time for most of us, but if you have been putting off learning Spanish, going to a pottery class, trying hot yoga, or going to the movie theaters, I want you to finish the year off strong by doing one of those things, doing something that interests you. You don't have to make it, an every weekend type of thing, right? But find a date before the year ends to, block out time to do the things you've been putting off, the things that interest you. Do those things and then take note of how it makes you feel. And when the new year comes, vow to continue trying different things that you've been wanting to do. I feel like I struggle with this myself. Like, the older we get, especially as women, like, we put so much of our time into our families, our friends, relationships, our business, our work. We forget to put time towards ourselves, right? We forget to do things that we want to do, or we put it on the back burner and say we'll do it later. Not now, not this year, right? Let's finish the year off strong by doing something we actually want to do for nothing more than our personal interest. And the final thing you can do to finish the year off strong is this. Find your motivation triggers. So what does that mean? Well, I want you to find the things that motivate you, that inspire you, that push you to continue working when you don't want to. What are those things? What inspires you to work when you don't want to? What motivates you to create a monthly budget? What inspires you to get up an hour early and work on your side hustle? What motivates you to opt for salads instead of pasta? When we pinpoint things that motivate us, we can tap into them to help us during the day-to-day grind of working towards our goals. One of my motivation triggers is picturing myself achieving or having the goal. Envisioning my future self helps me keep my eyes on the prize and keeps me present in the moment, because I know, okay, if I can do this, if I can get through this, if I can motivate myself to get past this hurdle, it's going to be worth it because I see myself on the other side. So find the things that inspire you, write them down, refer back to them, especially when you're struggling. Now, I shared a lot of things in this episode. You don't have to do all of them. You don't have to do all of the things I suggested today, but I do challenge you to pick one or two and get them done before the year ends. And I promise you, you will be happy you did.